All right. Well, I would say good morning, but for Ken and Kevin in the States, it's, I guess, early evening. So thanks for joining us today. And my name's Mark Tossell. Really excited to interview two legends in the Tableau ecosystem, the twin maestros, Kevin and Ken. Thanks for joining us today, guys.
Oh, thanks for having us, Mark.
Look, I thought we'd just jump right in, and maybe I'll get each one of you to share a little bit of how you ended up working with data analytics, Tableau, and then we'll maybe go from there. So let's say, Ken, would you like to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. So, I worked in information technology for close to 25 years, and I've probably done a little bit of everything in IT. As a programmer, I implemented ERP systems for years and years and years. Did database admin work, just about everything, right? But it was interesting because when I was writing those programs, there was always this sort of drive to make sure that the data was good and clean, and that everything that we're collecting was actionable, right? During my time of implementing ERP systems, it always felt like we were missing like this piece of, all right, so we're able to bill customers and we're able to do this and that, these sort of operational things, but what next, right? So I think there was always this sort of drive in me to sort of move to the other side of things. So I got an opportunity to do that probably about 10 years ago. Started an analytics group, and it just immediately clicked. I really and then at that point it was like there's no going back, right? I didn't want to go back to the operational side. I wanted to go stay on the side where we're using this data to actually impact the organization in real sort of tangible ways. So that's kind of how I landed in this, and had a couple of different jobs along the way and picked up new technologies along the way. But have no intention of ever leaving the data analytics space, because I think it's where I really belong,
I was a college dropout. I always start with that. I did go back, but yeah, I was a clueless, growing up, I was always good at math, right? So that's where I excelled. And, but in college, got into engineering, realized that just because you're good at math and science doesn't mean you're going to enjoy engineering. And even though I was good at the science, I hated physics with a passion. It was brutal. And so I ended up dropping out. And that's a true story. I ended up dropping out and dropped out. Wasn't going to school for maybe about a year and a half. I just worked and decided, all right, I got to go get the degree. Had lots of math already, so I went and got a degree in math. And out of school, was working weird like sales jobs and stuff. I was terrible at it. It wasn't something I enjoyed either. And then around 30, ended up getting a job doing analytics. And I always call it grind it out in Excel analytics. Download a data source and you do something in Excel. Hope it's less than, well, they say, million rows of data, but that's not true. You can't really work with anything if it's, over a couple 100,000. And so it was like grinded out Excel analytics for many years, about 10 years, actually, until the Tableau thing. We didn't really introduce Tableau. Can you just kind of talk about how you got into analytics? Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk about how you got into Tableau? Yeah. Sorry, Mark. I'm just going to ask the questions if you don't mind.
Don't really take over the interview, mate. I'm all good.
Like I said,
sure. Since I started with it before you, Kev, but so I had worked with other tools. I'd worked with Click at a previous job, and some of the traditional BI tools. I think I worked with MicroStrategy and Business Objects a little bit, a few other things. I really sort of, when I first discovered Click, I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense to me, right? This idea, this concept of visualizing data. So I think 2015, 2016, I was looking for a new opportunity. Got a job at Bucknell University, a liberal arts college here in Pennsylvania, and they had Tableau, right? So I thought, well, that's something I can probably learn before I jump in there and at least kind of hit the ground running. and, started doing some training, and I didn't actually use it for the first year and a half of my time there, as I was doing this sort of more architectural project. But I was, I kept having these ideas for like, well, I have this data and I want to analyze it. I want to answer some question, right? In my sort of personal questions, not work related. And I thought, well, I'm going to have to use Tableau eventually. Let me use Tableau to help answer this question. And then I kept doing that. And I just, all of a sudden, it was just like, whoa, this tool is amazing. It was like nothing I'd ever seen before, once it sort of clicked. So
if I may, was that on your own?
Yeah. I took a training course. I think it was on Udemy at the time. It was by Matt Francis, who's a former Tableau visionary. And somebody everyone in the Tableau community knows pretty much. And yeah, just learned it on my own, and then just started practicing and playing and finding my own data sets and creating things and putting them out on public and, tweeting them. I had a Twitter account that I didn't know anybody on. So I was tweeting them out, and fortunately, sort of ran into this cool thing called the Tableau community and started making friends and learning faster, and just everything sort of snowballed at that point. But yeah, pretty quickly I saw that Tableau was like, it was different, it was special, it was much more powerful than any other platform I had worked with, and knew that I wanted to spend a lot of time working with it, and did spend a lot of time working with it just in my personal life with my own data and things that I was just interested in exploring. And then eventually started using it at work and sort of leading our efforts from that standpoint at Bucknell as well.
And then you had an influence, I think, on getting Kevin into the fold, as it were.
He says I didn't.
Sort of.
Well, I think I've touched the sore point there, right?
Well, so, Ken had been using Tableau for maybe a year and a half. And I remember him coming down. Ken lives in Pennsylvania. I live in Kentucky, and we're about 8 hours apart. And he came down for Christmas or something like that. And he was texting a bunch, or like on Twitter, messaging with these people, these Tableau people. And he was talking about the conference. Maybe it's summertime when you came down. So you were talking about the conference that used to be held in like October, November. So he's going to this conference. I used to, call it his nerd conference, and, and talk to, I just used to pick on him and make fun of this thing that he was doing in his spare time to learn software in his spare time. Like, I remember he posted something on Facebook, and me and a buddy of mine just sort of like, just picked him apart. So it wasn't, Ken that necessarily got me into Tableau. It was when at when I was in my my job, and I was like, it's time for me to find something new. At that time, I was working for this huge company, so they had positions all over the place. So I started looking at analytics job postings, and sure enough, Tableau was listed in the job listing in about 95% of them. I probably looked at 30 job listings, and I would bet 27, 28 of them had Tableau listed as a required skill. Oh, and I remember reaching out to Ken and saying, all right, this is, I'll dive into your nerd thing that you're doing, and I'm ready to learn Tableau. So this is over text, by the way. And so I get a response back, here, watch this video from Matt Francis on Udemy. I'm like, so at this point, Ken was a Tableau visionary. It used to be called Zen Master. At this point, he was a Tableau visionary, my identical twin brother, and he's sending me to somebody else to learn the software, which I was, pissed me off. I said, no, I'm learning from you, man. So we got on we scheduled it. I remember it was February 28th, 2018. So almost, 5.5 years ago, something like that. And we spent a 3-hour session. We had a few drinks, and he showed me some cool stuff, and I was hooked. I just started playing in Tableau, and this is all on my personal time, messing around in Tableau, visualizing data sets I thought were interesting, and then I remember him showing me a couple of things like Adam McCann's Beatles analysis. And I was like, holy cow, I can't believe you can make something so beautiful that is also this sort of, back end of data, right? It's like this beautiful thing that you get all this insight from. So my first month, I created 5 or 6 visualizations, and you know how long these things can take. And the wife was like, I know you love this. I know it feels like, this is probably going to be your future. She was right. But you need to back off the gas a little, man. I was spending far too much time doing it. But yeah, just got really hooked on it. Did it for 6 months on Tableau Public, and had Jeff Schaefer, who's a legend, also Hall of Fame Tableau visionary like Ken, reach out to me. He runs a business. He was a chief operating officer of a business in Cincinnati. He said, "Hey, he sent me a message on Twitter, said, how'd you like to do this for a living?" And that was 6 months in. And yeah, I worked there for 4.5, up until 2 weeks ago. I worked with him, and he was fantastic, great mentor, learned a lot. And yeah, it seems weird to say software is life-changing. It was. It was career changing, also life-changing, also brought Ken and I back together. I'm not trying to throw everything at you at the one time, but I mean, Ken and I lived 8 hours apart for 20 years, and family and responsibilities got in the way, and we didn't talk that much. We talked occasionally, and now we talk every single day, multiple times a day, about Tableau, and have done that for the past 5 years. And now we're working together at Moxie Analytics getting to talk Tableau and life all day long, every day. So it's been an awesome journey.
I think that my first introduction to you both was, I believe, through your blog. And other than the obvious technical expertise and your ability to communicate complex subjects with great simplicity, I love the passion. It's like the passion bled out of the computer screen. And I've every time I've spoken to you, I felt that way. So, and I think other than our awesome hairstyles, it's one thing the three of us have in common, right? Is that passion around data and analytics, and the beauty of it. I think of the title of that, I think the website and book information is beautiful. For the two of you, you're so passionate about data analytics, and in particular about Tableau. What is it that makes you so passionate? Why does it get you so excited? You've both pivoted career paths, as I have, into the data and analytics space. There's probably people watching this video that are curious about it or beginning that journey. What is it that kind of gets you out of bed in the morning, gets your juices flowing around data analytics and in particular Tableau?
I think I alluded to this to some degree before, that I spent years and years and years implementing ERP systems, right? And it's probably the most thankless job in technology, right? Because the effort that goes into it, no one's ever happy, right? They always wish it worked like the old system did. It always seems more complicated. It's always more work. And, having worked on that side, it always felt like, are we really getting the value out of this data? There was always this nagging thing, like, it feels like we've done all this effort and all we're able to do is, invoice a customer, right? I mean, what was the point of all this? And I think having discovered analytics was that light bulb for me. Like, okay, this is why we do this, right? Because we need this, because we can actually take this data and make a real difference in the organization. We can really help people to make better decisions, operational decisions, as well as big, giant strategic decisions, right? That can be transformative to the organization. And to me, that's where, if we think about data and data collection, if we're not leading to that point of actually using it to make better decisions, then what's the point of even collecting it, right? And so I think kind of having seen that side and asking those questions, and now being on this end of it and being able to actually leverage data to drive these better decisions, to inform decisions, and, seeing the reaction of people, when you show them some interesting insight on a Tableau dashboard and their eyes light up and they're like, whoa, like all you did was throw together a simple chart and all of a sudden they're seeing things that they could never see before. That's, I think is what gets me excited, sort of the transformational nature of analytics, and Tableau doing that. I think, I mentioned before, I've worked with a bunch of different sort of traditional BI platforms and other tools, but none of them do it in the same in quite the same way that Tableau does it. You can get into Tableau with some raw data and just start exploring it, and all of a sudden you don't have to even really build charts. You just have to start trying different things, and all of a sudden you're seeing all these interesting insights without the complexity of writing code or any of those kinds of things. I think for me, that's what makes me so passionate about Tableau, is just the ease that you can get to these insights by just starting to drag things around a little bit here and there, and it can really take you down this path where you discover these amazing things that you can then go back and make recommendations to your business or your organization to make significant changes, and hopefully they make those changes and then you can actually see the impact of that. So for me, that's what makes me so passionate about it. Kev?
I kind of take mine back to when I was like an 8-year-old kid, when we were 8-year-old kids, same age. And we both were really, really good at math. I mean, we were, I don't know, they used to use the word gifted. We weren't considered gifted, but we were both very gifted at mathematics. One of the other things we were really gifted with was art. We were really good at just drawing. We would spend hours. I just remember Sunday afternoon spending 7-8 hours just drawing. We used to draw transformers. That was our main thing. But remember drawing. What's that?
I have a bunch of Thundercats.
Thundercats. Oh, nice. I remember Mad Balls.
Yeah.
We used to draw those. So we used to just sit and draw, and that's what we did all day long. We didn't have these things to stare at when we were 8 years old, but we just sit there and draw. In fact, one of the blog posts I have about design shows a couple of our drawings from when we were kids. But so we had this sort of like math mind and sort of this artistic mind, and I just feel like this is gonna sound stupid. It probably is stupid, but it almost felt like this. We were sort of destined down this path of being able to do something both analytically and artistically, and I think that Tableau's is this really great blend of those two sort of left, right, and right brain skills, and it just feels like it was just a natural thing. Tableau is an easy tool to learn, but there's a lot to learn about that product, right? And if for whatever reason, those things came pretty easy to Ken and I think. And I just think it was because we had sort of that those mixed skills of both the artistic, where we can build something that looks really nice, and we have this sort of good design sense to understand that it's not just building it to make it look nice, but if you do X, Y, Z, also make this thing easier to read, easier to understand for your end user. And then, pile on top of it, the back end part of it, what we're doing is analyzing data, and that's sort of that sort of mathematical mind. So sort of feels like, from a long period of time, this was kind of the path that we were on to do something that sort of mixes those skills. So
it seems to me that you're both very creative, but more of a, I guess from a sort of a science/maths background. And I think the data analytics, Tableau, they really give you this incredible creative outlet to express that inner artist, in a sense, in a mathematical, using a mathematical platform. But also I see that in your involvement in the community. So I see that creativity coming to the fore, and that passion in your blog posts and in every way that you contribute to the community. So I guess my question there to the two of you would be, why are you so driven and so dedicated to giving back, like to contribute? Let me start again. What is it that drives you to give so passionately to the community? And clearly it's not a burden, it's something that you love to do. So maybe explain to us why that is.
Yeah. I mean, I'll start, but you know, when you know, I mentioned before that I was kind of throwing this stuff out into the void on Twitter until all of a sudden, you know, there were these people that took notice and said, "Hey, you know, I like what you're doing," and you know, sort of brought me into this community. And I was like, "Oh wow, there's a whole bunch of nerds like me that are doing this stuff that have the same sort of passion," and you know, just sort of discovering that. And then seeing what other people were posting and following people on Tableau Public and downloading their workbooks and, you know, being amazed by the work of people like, you know, Roddy Zakovich and Adam McCann and Matt Chambers, you know, these people that were doing amazing things with this product, you know, really sort of sped up my learning, you know, accelerated my learning significantly. So, you know, the community itself had this amazing impact on my ability to learn this tool. And, you know, I was lucky enough to have a handful of people who really sort of mentored me. You know, Adam Crayon was a good example. You know, Josh Tapley, and I'm going to feel bad because I'm going to miss some important people, but there were these people that, you know, took me under their wing and mentored me and really were always there to help sort of guide me. You know, so when I came to the point of realizing that, oh, you know, there's some knowledge that I have that I could share with people and sort of pay it forward in the same way that they did for me, you know, it was important to me to do that, right? I wanted to make sure that in the same way that the community gave to me, that I was giving back. And it's something, you know, I sort of immediately fell in love with, like, oh, wow, this is, you know, it's so fulfilling to be able to share knowledge and have people reach out to, I mean, people reach out to Kevin and I on a daily basis, just saying, thank you for, you know, this blog or for just writing the blogs. And because I've learned so much from you. And that for me is just, that's all, you know, that's just so fulfilling just to get that positive feedback. Yeah, but the main thing is really just, you know, I got that help from people and I want to make sure to keep paying it forward. And, you know, and it's exciting to see people that I've helped along the way then sort of doing the same thing, right? And you see this cyclical process of people helping people, and then, you know, those people eventually down the road are doing and teaching and helping others in the community as well.
That was great, Ken. Thank you. So, Kevin, what about for yourself? What drives that passionate investment in our community?
I don't know that I have this great deep story that Ken has. I just know that I like helping people. I remember being 22 or 23 years old. You know, I was sitting I lived with 3 other guys at that point in time. And, you know, we were working and going to school. And I think, you know, I would have been out of school by then. But I remember looking at my buddy, and we were probably drinking, probably half lit at that point. And I said, man, I just remember questioning like the meaning of life, you know, saying like, are human beings supposed to work like 40 and 50 hours a week and we just make a bunch of money for our company? And like, that's what life is. And I'm 23 years old and a complete moron, admittedly, at that age. But, you know, I think, you know, I've kind of always had this desire. I mean, like, you know, I've helped with church a lot and have always loved that sort of volunteering aspect. And I think Ken and I have found this path through something that will pay us good money to make, you know, to make a living, but also where we can help others and we can help give back. And we kind of do that volunteering just through these skill sets that we built. And it's been wonderful. Ken said it really, really well. It's like when you see people succeeding or you know, they say, hey, there's a prominent member that was an Iron Viz a few years ago that, that he said I helped him get his job, and land, because I helped him look at a dashboard that he built for that job. It's like, that's really, really awesome that we can help people and affect their lives. So I don't want to overstate it. I mean, I do think a lot of people see our blogs and we've helped out a lot of people, but it truly can impact somebody's entire career or somebody's lives. And that's really awesome to hear those stories. So I think it ultimately just comes down, like, we're both passionate about helping people. We're passionate about Tableau, but I think we're more passionate about helping people. And it almost feels like it has to be something that you were born with, because I don't think we get to 370 or whatever we're at, 370 blog posts, just because we want to stay popular or something like that. It is really fueled with wanting to help people, and we really, really enjoy it. And yeah, if I sit there and write a blog post for 3 hours, whatever, it's just fun. But that's the other thing is, some people like to play golf, some people like to play pool. I like all those things, but my biggest hobby is playing the Tableau and helping other people. So
you said before, I think that software was life-changing, but if I may, without people like yourselves and others that contribute to the ecosystem and the community, it wouldn't be anywhere near as life-changing, because I think all of us get to that place multiple times in our journeys where we're stuck, and the internet gives us the platform whereby we can find this information. But obviously they've got to be content creators out there, right? And the fact that you two are both so approachable and engaging, you're not aloof in any way. And I know that may sound silly, but it can be the case sometimes where people are recognized experts in a community or with a technology, and they're not terribly approachable. I think for you both, you clearly get a lot of joy out of helping and serving. And I feel like, for me, I was thinking the other day, I'm turning 55 in a few weeks, and for some people that's like, yeah, I get to retire. I'm like, man, I'm just getting started. What are you talking about, retire? And I was chatting with my manager about my future career path and thinking, what lights my fire? And I love having an impact, and I love making a difference, and I love seeing other people succeed. And I think I kind of get that vibe from the two of you as well.
Yeah, 100% agree. Yep.
And you mentioned having this thriving community. I mean, I've worked, as I said before, I've worked in information technology for about 25 years, right? And I've worked with a lot of software. I mean, dozens and dozens of software packages. I've been to lots of conferences, and I've never run into a software package that had this sort of thriving community around it. Maybe certain programming languages or something like that. But even then, you just don't see that kind of passion out of a community. And I think that's a big part of why Tableau has been so successful, and all those community members are, probably the biggest critics, the biggest fans, and the biggest critics, right? So they're driving this platform to constantly improve and get better, and driving everyone else to improve and get better. And I think that's created this atmosphere, this sort of culture within our community of giving back and helping other people and being approachable and all those kinds of things, all those things that you just mentioned, Mark.
What is it? I'm gonna put you on the spot here. I'll go asking questions again. But what is it? Why is it Tableau? Like, what is it about Tableau that has caused this incredible community to be back in it? Is it something about the software? Is it something about the people? Like, is it the fact that it's visual, so it's somewhat easy to share on social media? I mean, I guess you could, if that's a thing, then why is there not this big, strong, powerful community behind Click or something like that? And maybe there are communities, but I just don't feel like they're nearly to the level of what Tableau is.
actually think that Tableau Public is one of the key factors in that, right? You know, so years and years, I don't even know how long, but Public's been around since before I started using Tableau. So to me, I feel like that was just this brilliant idea. I don't know. I don't even know who came up with it. But whoever came up with it, it's just this brilliant idea of, hey, let's create this platform where people can share all their work. You know, let's create a free tool where people can learn it, a free place where people can share it, download it, take it apart. And to me, that feels like that became sort of this list, maybe not is not the only reason, but I think became one of the big core parts of this community, and things sort of built around it with this ability to share and then share on social media. And then somebody goes and sees, hey, I really like that. I would like to be able to do that in my work. So they download the workbook and then they do it. And then they decide to start doing something in public as well. And, you know, it just creates that sort of atmosphere, I think.
It's a great point.
There's also been, what's that?
I was going to say it's a great point. And when I asked that question, I wasn't like throwing Ken a softball so he just knew how to answer. I was honestly asking that question. He's right. He's right. Because I imagine a scenario where I wanted to learn Tableau and I, have to download a, 30-day trial. After 30 days, I'm like coming up with a different email address so I can download it again. And instead I was using Tableau Public for 6 months, 8 months, before I got a job where I had a full-blown Tableau desktop license. I was able to get really skilled at the software. And now, you had, and Ken did the same thing. Now we're two of the Tableau's biggest advocates. So they kind of took this free software and said, oh, well, some people at Tableau had to be going, we can't give it away for free, like why would we want to do that? Now you have, me and Ken and hundreds and thousands of other people that are basically marketing Tableau, across the world, because we did have that luxury of learning how to use the software for free. So I 100% agree with you. And again, didn't set that up ahead of time or anything like that. It just, I think he nailed it. I think Tableau Public is probably the most central reason why the community is what it is. And also Tableau puts a lot of energy into it as well. I imagine they saw that and recognized that and decided to foster that. And we have a great community team at Tableau, for many years. And I'm sure that's helped it grow by leaps and bounds.
Right. So I've got 2 more questions and we've got about 5 minutes. So question number 1 is, what advice would you give to someone looking to build a career in the Tableau space? And then at the end, we're going to chat about your exciting new venture. So just a few quick thoughts, some pointers on people looking to build their career in this ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, we've been talking a lot about software here, right? But, doing data work is, part of it's about software, right? About becoming really good with the platform that you're using. But a lot of it is really just about being a good data analyst. And that requires some of the more soft skills, right? I mean, if you've got all the skills and the technology in a Tableau or a Power BI or something like that, and you don't know how to ask good questions, all those skills are useless, right? So it's things like knowing how to ask good questions. It's curiosity, creativity, critical thinking, right? Communication, general problem solving capabilities. Those things are the most critical skills. And then, of course, you need to then learn a tool or multiple tools to then apply that. But I think, taking the time and making sure that you have those core skill sets of a data analyst, I think, are the most important things. And then learning the technology is a little bit easier than those things. So that's what I would say first is just, remember that this is not just about mastering technology. This is about all of those kinds of skills. And honestly, those kinds of skills will make you good at any job, right? So focus on gaining those skills while you're learning a technology. And I think you're going to be in pretty good shape with that career path.
Kevin?
And the advice I always give, I mean, that's fantastic advice, Ken. I'll talk more about just really learning the technologies. We get this question asked, I don't know, 5 times a week. And we always refer people to 2 different blog posts, both on our website. First one is how and why to connect with the Tableau community. And this really talks about how do you go about doing it? Where is the community active? It's on Twitter and LinkedIn, and it's in Tableau user groups and at the conference. And then it talks about the value of that. If you are sitting and doing Tableau in your cubicle at work and you're not interacting with anybody else that's doing it, it's really hard to get good at that. It's like becoming a musician without having heard, any music in your life, right? Or other people's music, only listening to your own music. That's just doesn't make any sense. So one of those blog posts is just how and why to connect with the Tableau community. And Ken and I always talk about, it's almost like learning by osmosis. You just soak up knowledge and you learn just so much faster. And then the other blog post that we have was written by Ken. It's 4 tips for mastering Tableau, and it talks about training. So, doing training courses like we talked about, practicing. You can practice on your own data sets, or Makeover Monday, Workout Wednesday, or, Project Health Viz, or any of those different community projects. Engaging with others, and that's really about the community. And then ultimately kind of coming full circle and teaching that out to others. So we see this progression a lot where people come in, they start learning, and they do these projects and they engage. And then ultimately you see they, create their own website and they start sharing out content. It's exactly the path that we went through. And it really does help you get to the point where you truly understand the application enough to where you can teach it is certainly a sign that you understood it. So those are the 2 things that I always advise people when they're starting to just go read those blog posts, and especially the community thing. People underestimate the power of community.
Yeah, absolutely agree. What I'll do for the people watching the video, I'll put links to those articles in the description so you can navigate straight to those. So super excited about your pivot in your careers. Still obviously very much involved with data analytics, Tableau, the community, the ecosystem, but in a slightly different way. So it would be great to hear more about your newest venture, and maybe a little bit about why you made that change and why you're excited about it, because you're clearly very excited about it.
Well, first off, we're both wearing the same exact sweatshirt, so you have to advertise. So yeah, Ken and I joined Moxie Analytics 2 weeks ago. Well, been in the works for a little while, but officially, we're officially on day 11. We had talked for a long time. In fact, Serena Roberts, who is a co-leader of Moxie Analytics, is somebody we talked to at the conference last year. And she just gave us, I think, a little bit of a different perspective of the consulting life and, and really, running a business. And we were impressed. And we've been talking about it for a year. And around Christmas time, we reached out to her and admittedly a couple other companies and started having this conversation about, if we were thinking about going to consulting, would you be willing to consider bringing on 2 people, as team members? And so we met with a couple of people, and we were really interested in a couple of them, but Moxie Analytics was like up here and everybody else was kind of, somewhere down below. They were just really impressive. It's run by 2 women, Laura Manson and Serena Roberts. Small company, but been around for 4 years. And we were able to just set something up that worked. It felt really mutually beneficial. Now that we're in there and working with them, and we've been working with them for about 6 weeks, probably. Once we kind of figured like we're going to do this and made the announcement, we've been working with them, and they're awesome. I don't know other way to say, like, they're just badasses. They are just awesome people that really brilliant and just go-getters. And it's been awesome. We're doing a lot of prep work right now, working on training, spent a lot of time building our Tableau conference presentation. We're doing doing sales, right? This is something we weren't doing in previous roles, but really prospecting and just kind of building relationships with people at Tableau. And in fact, we got a lead from somebody already from Tableau that we talked. So things are going well. It's kind of we're kind of getting little aspects of running a bit statements of work and what you have to do with insurance and things like that. And we're lucky that we have the folks at Moxie, but yeah, we're excited. It feels like we have several really solid leads, and we think we're going to be hopefully be doing some cool stuff with Tableau here. Really excited. Sorry if I hogged that whole section there, Ken. You have anything to say, add to that?
You covered it. I mean, from a Tableau perspective, I mean, Moxie does a lot of data analytics work, from data strategy, data governance, data literacy, as well as a lot of technical work. Kevin and I are going to be focused, at least initially, on the Tableau stuff, it's low-level technical kinds of things. But we're going to be doing things like, Tableau project work, as well as we have Tableau Lifeline, which is, sort of you book an hour of our time and we can help you with a really tricky problem. And, also something somewhere in between, fractional data hero, where we can be sort of, an extension of your team for a few hours a week or something like that. So those are some of the services we're offering in the Tableau space, and some additional things coming soon that hopefully will be announced here in the future. So yeah, we're really excited about it, and we're confident that we made the right choice in Moxie for sure.
Yeah, look, sounds amazing. Can't wait to hear about how that progresses. Looking forward to seeing some more exciting news along those lines. And we'll have some links also in the comments in the description. Can't thank you both enough for your time. Even if no one watches this video, I've had a blast. Yeah, if anyone wants to see you guys in person, you'll be at Tableau conference, right?
Next week, yep.
Awesome.
We're speaking twice, Tuesday and Wednesday. So
and
hopefully
streaming on Salesforce Plus.
Salesforce Plus. That's right. Yeah.
And on demand, streaming and on demand. Yeah.
So I'll get those links off you guys as well, and we'll add that to the YouTube description. So thanks again for your time, and we'll certainly continue to stay in touch. And if anyone wants to reach out to you, is Twitter, LinkedIn, are those probably the two best ways, or
the contact us from the blog as well?
Okay, yeah, and that obviously that link will be in the description as well. Thank you, guys. Have a great evening.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, you too.
All right, you too. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.